Hi everyone, my name is Sybil and I am here to do a 10-part series on relationships between men and women. You know, I'm at a point in my life where a lot of my friends are going through divorce or separation or openly admitting that they don't like their husband or wife. And it's funny because 10 years ago, everybody was in a hurry to get married. And I had friends who cried about it. They prayed to God, please find me a husband. I had male friends who were like, it's time. I'm a certain age and I need to think about settling down, so let me find someone. And so I started thinking, 10 years ago, the situation was completely different. Everybody was in a hurry to get married, and now everybody's in a hurry to get divorced. And I have a sister who is recently divorced. She was married for 21 years. Yes, hand clap, very impressive. Not only did she meet double digits, she got into 2 decades. But I started thinking, how did she get to the point where she wanted to get divorced? And the other night we went out with a couple of her coworkers and we were all sitting around having drinks and the topic of relationships came up. And some people revealed that they're separated, that they are divorced. And so I posed the question, how did you get to the point where you knew you wanted to marry the person you married? And I asked the men specifically, and the guys were like, it's just a feeling. Men just know. We just know as soon as we meet a woman, this is who we want to make our wife. This is who we want to have babies with. We just know. And then my sister, she co-signed. She's like, yeah, men, they know almost instantly. And within 3 months or 6 months, they know they want to propose. And really, they're just trying to buy their time so they don't seem too anxious. But you just know she's the one. She's the one. They kept saying it. And I started thinking to myself, how do you know she's the one? Men like to believe that they will know instantly who she is, the one, when they meet her. But the reality is, people buy into this notion that it's an instantaneous process, that you have no power over it, that it's almost like a force field that makes you feel a certain way, you can't control it. And I said, well, explain to me, like, what is that knowing like? Well, I can't explain it, the guy said. It's something you don't really understand what's happening. You just know you feel it, but you can't describe it to anybody. But that's the feeling to tell you that that's the one. And I'm like, the one. It all seems so definitive, And to some women, it seems almost romantic that this man will confess that they had what they call love at first sight. I knew the moment I met you that I wanted to marry you. Oh yeah, that sounds so romantic. But really, when you play it back, I knew the moment I met you that I wanted to marry you. Now, how the hell could you know that? You don't know this woman. You don't know anything about her. You don't know what makes her tick. You don't know what she likes. You don't know what she cares about. You don't know what she believes in. You don't know how she's going to raise kids or if she can even have any. You don't know anything about this woman, but you know she's the one. And when you think about it, that sounds so ridiculous. The fact that people are getting engaged and marrying folks that they don't know, but confessing or professing that I know, they don't. And so what happens? You're in this relationship and you marry this person. You tell your friends and God that this is who you're going to be with to the day you die. And now that you're living with the person and they are free to be who they really are, you do get to know them. And you know what you find out? You learn that you don't like them. You learn that you didn't know who they were before you married them. And a lot of times people will say, oh, well, he changed, or she's not the same woman I married. And you have to kind of like laugh. I'm trying not to chuckle too hard. But if you married a woman who you didn't get to know, and now you're surprised of who she really is, because time has passed, and it's forced you to get to know her, and you learn that you don't like her, well, whose fault is that? You know, it's a ridiculous process people use to select a mate, the most important relationship they're going to have in life, the person they're supposed to go through life with and share everything, ups and downs. And they don't take the time to get to know this person first. It's amazing. You know, so my point is, you don't want to marry someone that you don't know. And you can't know someone, you can't know she's the one if you just met her, right? And so I think people need to understand it takes a long time to really get to know someone. I think it takes a good 5 years to really get to know someone. But people are in such a hurry, they don't want to take that amount of time before they make a major decision like marriage. They want to hurry up and get it done. You know, a lot of times people, they think they have to check boxes off. You know, with my sister, she met her husband in January through a blind date. That same November, by Thanksgiving, they were engaged, and the following June, they were married. They only knew each other for 18 months before they decided they were going to spend their whole life together. And the reality is, she was in that marriage for probably like the latter part of it, good 5-6 years, where she knew she didn't even like him anymore. And my brother and I, we used to joke. We used to say, you ever see the way he looks at her? I don't think he really likes her, right? But they had made this commitment, and they kept trying to make it work. And what do? They go counseling. They try to have date night. All these artificial things they place into their routine to try to make a relationship work. And the reality is, you're trying to force someone who doesn't like you to like you. And so I'm not here to bash men by any means. And, you know, I just want people to do better. I want people to do better in their relationship selection. You know, women, don't feel like you have to be married because your friends are married. You know, don't feel like you got to check off certain boxes on, or put X's on the calendar and rush into disaster and be miserable right along with your miserably married friends. You know, don't do that. And men, don't feel like you can't marry that woman you really do know. You know, think about it. A lot of men have female relationships. They call them friends, and they're attracted to them, and they've known them for years. And this is the woman that has been with them through breakups and breakdowns. They have watched you run through women and listen to the stories about these other women. And you trust this woman, and you care about her, and you know she likes you and cares about you because she's still in your life and she's still your friend, no matter what. And you have truly been yourself with her, and that's not the person you consider for marriage. That is absolutely absurd. She is your wife. She is the person you should be proposing marriage to. She is the one that is going to be there for you through thick and thin, because she already has. She is the one. And it's funny how men think that, you know, nah, it can't be that woman. It has to be some woman that they see, you know, walk into a room and they're spellbound, and, you know, she's beautiful, she's out of this world, they've never felt like this about anybody anymore or ever, and that's who they're gonna make their wife. And then they run through the whole get to know process. And, you know, tens of thousands of dollars later, they realize they made a mistake, a very costly mistake, and they don't know what to do. And they're stuck with trying to make a decision, a difficult one. You know, do you stay and be miserable, or do you divorce and then admit to people you married the wrong person because you didn't take the time to get to know them first? So my point is this: take your time to get to know someone before you marry them. I repeat, take your time to get to know someone before you marry them. The last thing you want to have happen is that, you know, you find out you don't like this person while you're married to them. That's something you should realize before you say I do. You don't want to wake up one day and realize, you married someone you don't like and have to admit, this is a mistake you made that you could have avoided if you took your time and moved slower. So men, when you feel something for a woman that you can't explain, that's not a good thing. In fact, it's a bad thing. And it's the very reason you should go slow and be careful. You want to wait until you can articulate what you're feeling, that you can find the words to say what needs to be said to your friends and family that explain to them why you want to marry this woman, And the reality is this: feelings change. So you need to allow yourself enough time while you're getting to know this person to see if your feelings change. If you rush down the aisle, you won't give yourself that opportunity to know whether or not 2 years or 3 years or 5 years from now, you still like her. Women, let's be honest. We have to stop hiding who we really are to these men that we say we want to marry. Be yourself 24/7. Let him see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And don't act like you can live with things that you really can't in order to trick him into marrying you. Don't overlook XYZ or act like XYZ doesn't bother you just to later on in the marriage tell him how much you hate the fact that he does XYZ. You want to make sure that you take the time to decide what you want and figure out what you absolutely need and decide what you can tolerate. And you can never live with behavior that you cannot tolerate. It will just crush your self-esteem and kill your confidence. And it won't matter how much money he makes or what he does for a living or how impressed your friends are with him. Because remember, your friends are only impressed because they don't know him either. Being successful in choosing a mate requires that you become an educated consumer first. We do market research and consumer price indexing when we buy a house, when we buy a car, and we make a decision on where we're going to send our kid in money for college. You know why? Because the selection process is important. When you marry someone and find out during the marriage that you don't like them, it's as if you didn't read the label or the fine print before you tore off the tag, unwrapped and opened the package, and threw the receipt away in yesterday's trash that you now realize, oops, I brought the wrong one home. And you know what they say at the hair supply store? No refund. No refund. Read sign. No refund.